Listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you is one of the quietest secrets in European history. Ireland, this small, windswept island, at the edge of the Atlantic, carries a genetic signature so unusual, so ancient, so stubbornly preserved, that scientists still struggle to fully explain it. Irish DNA doesn't just whisper the past, it remembers it. And tonight, we're stepping into that memory. Under the soft pull of moonlight, Ireland becomes a different place. The hills feel older, the rivers hum with stories, the stones carry echoes of footsteps that have long faded. And somewhere beneath all of that, beneath the folklore, the myths, the kingdoms, and the centuries, lies a genetic fingerprint that sets Ireland apart from almost every place on Earth. Why is Irish DNA so distinctive? Why does it feel like a doorway into another era? And what ancient forces shaped it into what it is today? Let's unravel it, one chapter at a time. Chapter 1. A genetic time capsule in the Atlantic. Most of Europe is a swirling tapestry, stitched together over millennia by restless migrations, tribes drifting like tides, armies marching across open frontiers, kingdoms rising, collapsing, merging again, languages morphed, cultures fused, and bloodlines tangled like threads in an endlessly rewoven cloth. But Ireland? Ireland is the strange and stubborn exception, the quiet outlier at the continent's edge. For thousands upon thousands of years, the Atlantic Ocean didn't just separate Ireland from the rest of Europe. It wrapped the island in something gentler, something protective, a vast, salt-soaked blanket of isolation, while mainland Europe shifted beneath the weight of constant newcomers. Celts, Romans, Germanic tribes, Vikings, empires rolling in like weather. Ireland remained relatively still, like a stone in deep water, almost untouched, almost undisturbed, almost frozen in time. Early Neolithic farmers came first, carrying with them a lifestyle that would transform the island. The first seeds, the first herds, the first settlements that clung to Irish soil. Centuries later, Bronze Age tribes followed, bringing new tools, new rituals, and new ways of shaping the land. These people did not just pass through. They rooted themselves into the island, like ancient trees. And after that, the waves quieted. The migration slowed. The island simply held its shape, unchanged in ways that feel almost impossible. In European history, the DNA those early people carried, their stories, their struggles, their faces, their bloodline signatures, remained on this island, long after vanishing everywhere else. While Europe evolved, their genetic echoes stayed preserved here, circling through generations. Like an unbroken melody, what survived in Irish DNA isn't just ancestry, it's a snapshot, a preserved photograph of populations that dissolved into the wider European gene pool or disappeared entirely. Ireland became, without trying, a living museum of Europe's oldest genetic chapters, a sanctuary of forgotten lineages, a rare archive of ancient memory. It is isolation, but also protection, separation, but also safekeeping. A time capsule that didn't bury itself in the ground. A time capsule that still breathes, still walks, still speaks, still beats beneath the skin of the modern Irish people. A pulse from the deep past, echoing forward into the present. Chapter 2. The mysterious Celtic genetic shadow. People hear the word Celtic, and their minds instantly light up with cinematic images. Warriors streaked in blue war paint, heroes standing on windswept cliffs, harps trembling in firelit halls, and myths dripping with gold and prophecy. But the real story hiding in Irish DNA? It's older than those legends, older than the songs, older than the word Celtic itself, and it is far stranger than the romantic version the world loves to picture. The truth is this: what we now call Celtic culture is only the surface shimmer of something much deeper. Beneath the modern symbols, beneath the stories we inherited, lives a genetic imprint that stretches back to a time when Europe was still figuring out what it wanted to become. Buried within Irish DNA is one of the highest concentrations of Bronze Age ancestry found anywhere on the continent. These were the ancient tribes who traveled across mountains and seas, carrying with them new gods with sharp, wild personalities, innovative tools forged in glowing metal, shifting social structures, and the earliest seeds of the languages that would one day bloom into what we now label Celtic. These people didn't just pass through Ireland. They reshaped it. They rewrote ritual, landscape, identity. Their arrival cracked open an entirely new cultural world. But here's where the real twist hides. In many parts of Europe, this Bronze Age ancestry faded away as later migrations stormed through. Romans, Germanic tribes, Slavic waves, each one layering its own genetic footprint over what came before. Piece by piece, those older lineages melted into the background. They dissolved into the noise of history. But Ireland? Ireland didn't get that flood. The waves of replacement didn't come. So the Bronze Age imprint stayed intact, preserved like a shadow, cast across thousands of years. A genetic shadow, subtle but unmistakable. A memory that Europe forgot, but Ireland quietly kept. And that shadow isn't just a poetic metaphor. It still shows up today, in the places scientists least expect, in bloodlines that cluster, in small pockets of the island, in surnames that trace back to ancient tribal territories, in family groups that map perfectly onto prehistoric settlement patterns. Geneticists keep stumbling onto it, again and again. These ghostly signatures, from a Bronze Age world, that should, by all logic, be long gone. Yet in Ireland, it survived, undisturbed, unforgotten, still whispering beneath the skin of people who may have no idea they're carrying Europe's oldest living echo. Chapter 3. The rare markers hidden in the bloodlines. Irish DNA carries quirks, oddities, little genetic fingerprints that practically demand attention. They're the kind of details that make scientists squint at the data and go, wait, why here? Why so strong? Why so consistent? Let's start with the Y chromosome lineages, the male bloodlines that pass from father to son, like a quiet inheritance. In Ireland, these lines don't just follow normal patterns. They cluster, they concentrate, they form some of the densest and most unified male ancestry groups in all of Europe. One lineage in particular stands out like a beacon. Geneticists have traced it to a single, powerful male ancestor who lived more than 1,000 years ago, someone influential enough that his descendants spread across the island like the roots of a once vast, ancient tree. Every generation branched out farther, until today, thousands upon thousands of men carry a marker that whispers, you come from him, your blood remembers him. And then, the MC1 or mutation, the legendary red hair gene. The world romanticizes it, but biologically, it's a phenomenon. Ireland holds the highest concentration of this mutation found anywhere on Earth. Red hair, porcelain pale skin, freckles dusted like constellations. Traits that seem whimsical to the world, but were once serious adaptations. These weren't random quirks that just happened to stick. They were survival strategies. In a dim, northern climate, where sunlight was weak, winters were long, and the human body needed every scrap of light it could absorb to produce essential vitamin D. In Ireland's cold and cloudy world, this mutation wasn't just helpful, it was a lifeline. And so it spread, generation after generation, until the island became the global heart of the red hair phenomenon. But that's not the only marker that tells a survival story. There is hemochromatosis, a genetic condition so common in Ireland that it earned the dramatic nickname, the Celtic curse. Today it's known for causing the body to absorb too much iron. But long ago, when ancient Irish communities faced harsh winters, poor soil, and periods of famine, this mutation may have been a hidden advantage. In a world where iron was scarce in the diet, where bodies struggled to draw enough minerals from food, this trait could have meant the difference between weakness and strength, between surviving the cold or being swallowed by it. It was a biological trick, forged not in a lab, but in the unforgiving embrace of nature. And it persists today, a stubborn echo of ancient hardship. These markers aren't just science. They aren't just data points in a textbook or lab report. They are the footprints left by the people who came before, etched in bone, carried in blood, woven quietly into the living bodies of modern Irish people. Each mutation, each pattern, each repeated signature is a message from history itself. We lived, we adapted, and our story continues through you. Chapter 4. The Gaelic signature that refuses to fade. Ireland has seen invaders come and go, Vikings with their long ships slicing through the fog, Normans wrapped in chainmail and ambition. Empire builders who believed they could rewrite the island the way they rewrote maps. But Ireland has a strange, almost magical talent. It absorbs newcomers without ever losing the core of itself. People arrive, they settle, they leave their fingerprints on the coastlines, on the ports, on the cities that traded with the outside world. But deep inside the island, in the hills, in the valleys, in the labyrinth of old boundaries, Ireland's genetic heartbeat remains stubbornly, defiantly Gaelic. Genetic studies keep revealing this quiet miracle. Even after centuries of raids, conquests, intermarriage, and shifting rulers, the internal population of Ireland didn't fracture the way you might expect. It didn't dissolve or blur the way many European regions did, under wave after wave of outside influence. Instead, it stayed remarkably intact, remarkably steady, almost shockingly unchanged. The coastal towns tell a very different story. There you see the fingerprints of outsiders etched clearly. Norse signatures in Dublin, Norman lines around Wexford and Waterford, traces of merchants, soldiers, wanderers from every corner of Europe and beyond. These ports were doorways, open, busy, shifting, and their genetic history reflects that. But their influence rarely seeped into the island's deep interior, because once you leave the coasts, once you move inward, past the cliffs and the trading hubs, past the busy roads, and into the counties wrapped in green hills and stone-bordered fields, you step into another world, a quieter world, a world guarded by geography and old tradition. And in these places, the lineages running through families trace back, almost unbroken, to Ireland's original Gaelic tribes, clans, septs, ancient king groups that once ruled small territories with fierce loyalty and deep-rooted pride. Names that echo in myth and appear on weathered stones. Old royal lines that governed long before any European empire even imagined Ireland on its maps. These aren't just family names. They are living threads, genetic signatures carved into time, protected not by military might, but by landscape, culture, and a stubborn sense of identity that refuses to evaporate. It's as if invisible DNA walls formed, built from mountain ranges, from rural isolation, from tight-knit communities that guarded their history the way others guard treasure. Foreign armies might burn towns, change rulers, rename places, build castles, write new laws. But the people, the families in the interior, they stayed, they endured, they passed their inheritance from one generation to the next, like a flame cupped carefully in the hand. So Ireland didn't just keep its culture, its language, its music, its mythology. It kept its people, their bloodlines, their quiet resilience, their deeply Gaelic signature that still marks the genome of the island. Like a watermark, time could never wash away. Chapter 5. Islands Remembered Differently. There's something undeniably strange about islands and the way they hold memory. They cling to things. They echo old patterns. They resist the kind of forgetting that sweeps over large continents, like wind over wheat fields. But Ireland remembers with a clarity that feels almost supernatural, as if the soil, the stones, the rivers themselves refuse to let the past dissolve. Most islands remember simply because they're isolated, but Ireland's memory runs deeper than that. It remembers migrations that the rest of Europe buried under centuries of movement and mixing. It remembers tribes whose names faded into dust elsewhere. Tribes erased from maps, erased from stories, erased even from language. Yet here, their genetic signature remains, as steady as a heartbeat. Beneath the centuries, Ireland remembers identities that didn't survive through towering monuments, or vast empires, or grand armies. They survived through blood, quietly, stubbornly, generation after generation. Names changed, languages shifted, stories were rewritten. But the body doesn't lie. It holds on to what the world forgets. Every genetic marker in Ireland feels like a small, ancient story, pressing against the edges of silence. A half-buried narrative, still searching for a voice large enough to carry it into the present. These markers aren't just scientific curiosities. They are whispers, echoes, remnants of people who walked the island long before a single page of recorded history existed. It's as if Ireland doesn't just store history. It shelters it. It tucks it away. carefully and deliberately, into the folds of landscape and lineage. While other regions of Europe were scraped clean by invasions, resettlement, and constant upheaval, Ireland curled its memories inward, guarding them like embers in the wind. And sometimes, when you look at the data, when you trace the markers, follow the lineages, map the genetic clusters, it feels like the island itself has a secret intelligence, as though the land knows what it wants to keep and what it's willing to let go of. Almost like the hills are hiding stories beneath their shadows. Almost like the bogs are storing traces of time itself. Almost like the soil tucks memories under its surface, keeping them safe until someone comes along, brave enough and curious enough to dig deeper, to ask the questions no one thought to ask, to pull the old stories back into the light where they can breathe again. So why is Irish DNA distinctive? Because this island is one of the last places in Europe where the past never truly left. It lingers in the people. It whispers through the generations. It survives in freckles, in ancient surnames, in quiet rural villages, and in the wild stretch of that Atlantic horizon. Irish DNA is not rare. It's resilient, a survivor's song, written into the body. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it. That ancient heartbeat, timeless, steady, still echoing beneath the skin. If this journey through Ireland's genetic past pulled you a little deeper into the mystery, then don't slip away just yet. Tap subscribe, hit like, and let the moonlight whisper carry you into the next story. There are more histories hiding in the shadows, and I'd love to explore them with you.